Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out, more so than ever today, as I'll explain later, to Abraham Mohammed, Adam, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Billy Highvolt, Blue Ridge Ranger, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As The Earth, Chow Young Cat, Dank, Dave Rakia Gafford, David Wayne Foster, Daz Studio 68, Edwin Johnson, Erwin Jennisons, Effie Diplomat, Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin, Henrik 86, Joshua Balsimo, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life is Short, Matt, Missouri Bear, Nagara, Nathan Thompson, Naibai, Qatar Craig, Renee, Rob H, Sally Ballis, Silver Umbrella, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, The Real Gabster, Tina Baker, Tom Herkins, UK Diamond 33, Unbelievable Productions, and Wind Rider. So the reason I'm giving them an extra special shout out today is because I typically lean on my Patreons to keep the show running in a maintenance kind of way. So over the last few, I don't know how long I've had, maybe 6 months, maybe a bit longer, I've had Patreon, but I've done all sorts of maintenance work. So I've bought new hard drives for a hard drive that failed, the main one that runs the show, along with another hard drive for storing and archiving the shows. I've also had amplifiers fixed, the screen on my iPad fixed. What else have I bought? Put a fair chunk of money towards a projector that I bought. That definitely didn't get covered by Patreons, but it certainly helped that I had them. Nevertheless, the reason I'm saying all this is because the main bulk of the work that I do on YouTube is actually done on my iPad. So 90% of my day is spent on the iPad, if it's editing videos together, as I've been doing quite a lot of recently, or monitoring the shows, monitoring the live shows, monitoring the premiering shows, researching. Doesn't matter, whatever I'm doing, I'm typically doing it on the iPad. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that the patrons have contributed to is fixing the iPad. So it's gone back several times because it's getting old, and it eventually had a cracked screen, and that has left the digitizer now slightly screwed, and it's just becoming a bit of a nightmare to actually work on. So for that reason, I've actually started a GoFundMe campaign. I will put a link in the info box. Hopefully I'll get a similar level of support to the kind of support the people who I promoted when they had GoFundMes. That said, it's kind of all or nothing deal. I don't actually, unlike some of the other people who've run GoFundMes, got the funds to actually contribute myself, which is pretty much why I'm doing a GoFundMe in this instance. I simply can't afford to buy this piece of equipment, and as far as I understand it from the other ones I've done for other people, that's precisely what GoFundMes are for. So as I say, in the past, I've kind of thought I don't have any requirement to run a GoFundMe. I don't need anything because I haven't got a P1000 requirement or a drone requirement or whatever else requirement. But in reality, I definitely do have a requirement for stuff. I've got equipment all around me. As I say, that gets maintained by the Patreons, who I am eternally grateful to for keeping the show running in a technical way. But in this instance, I'm reaching out because there is something that is beyond the stretch of my finances, and indeed the Patreon contributions which keep the show running. So I will put a link to my GoFundMe campaign. Hopefully you'll support me, and hopefully I'll get a slick piece of equipment that will keep me running precisely as I have up until now. So thanks in advance to anybody who does support me. Hopefully I'll reach my target, which is a fairly lofty target. iPads are not expensive. It's about £1,400. If I do exceed it, I'll hopefully bump up the memory and buy one with a bigger storage capacity, save me archiving things all the time. But I've essentially requested the amount of money it costs to replace the one that I've got that's dying and has had a replacement screen. So that's enough of my my babble about the iPad and e-begging for an iPad. I'll introduce some of the people who are on the panel. So we're currently joined by Righteous Force and 10th Man in Discord, together with a whole bunch of people in G+, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord. So I'll raise the mic on them, and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for the first live show.
And the whole time. And the Rayleigh theorem just goes against that, because clearly they appear to cut into each other, two objects, right?
my goodness, what kind of a platform for... I mean, have these people lived long enough life to know that what they're saying doesn't make any sense to what they observe in reality?
Well, it goes back to what we were talking about. There's some things they know they can't concede.
If you're on the long road and the mountain in front of you looks small, but as 2, 3, 4 hours go by, the mountain looks bigger and bigger because you're going towards it. What does that prove to them?
Hello.
Hello, what happened?
Nothing. Setting up the live show.
Oh, I was just talking to Righteous and you went silent.
Well, I didn't know how to reply. It's like that was a baller question of a baller, right? I wouldn't know how they would.
Oh, reply
Respond to that.
honestly. Reply honestly. Everyone knows the further you get away from something, it looks smaller, and the closer you get, it takes on the actual size that it is. I mean, what is the problem here?
The gravitational waves your body puts off causes things in the distance to get bigger as you get closer to them.
Oh, thank you for that. That was a good one to start with today. That was wonderful. So sciencey. Pseudo-sciencey, that is. I watch your P's and Q's these days. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Every day, life experience tells you how your eyes work. And then when it comes to this, they want to deny that.
Hello?
Seems like we just have. Go on.
We heard a hello, and now we've got silence.
Oh, sorry, that was me. That was me. Sorry. I was just saying earlier on that, like, I can't believe, like, after all this time and all the evidence against the bowlers, that they don't even, like, move an inch. Like, they don't agree with nothing. I just can't see how the dishonesty, how they could do it to themselves. Like, or is it? It's madness. It's beyond me.
Yeah, it's probably very painful cognitively for them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So eventually you got to say to yourself, something's right here, and I'm not. I've got to change my way, or like you can't keep going on like that.
Called zealotry. That's the word. Look up zealotry and see what it says.
I will.
Hey guys.
Hey, Flatzoid.
Hello.
Hello, Flatzoid.
All right, so I got zealotry
What I
up.
hear about zealots?
It says fanatical and uncompromising pursuit of religious, political, or other ideals. Or then it says fanaticism.
The uncompromising bit. So you're saying, why wouldn't they concede?
Yeah.
Because they're zealots.
Make them. It's exactly what they are.
Yeah.
Makes sense now.
Sounds like Brenda.
Yeah, she's a zealot. Yeah, that's essentially what we're dealing with. Religious fanatics and zealots. Fundamentalism. That's why I call them fundies. Dealing with fundamentalists.
Guys, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was the recent person to realize that the Earth is flat? I can only remember Adam Meakin when he was talking with Nathan before, and I also remember Arwind when he was arguing gravity with Sleeping Warrior. I'm not sure who else has realized that. I have not tracked the show uh, like a couple of months before or after that.
Don't understand your question. Can you repeat your question?
I was
But
going to button
who
quickly
else?
and get something off my chest, but go on if he's going to go on.
I know.
Are
Can
you
you
Sure.
repeat
asking
your
who the
question?
first flat earther was?
No. Like, who else has realized the Earth is flat after Adam Meakin and probably Arwind when he was arguing gravity with Sleeping Warrior?
Who else has realised the Earth is flat after Arwen argued with Sleeping Warrior? I'm really sorry, this doesn't make any sense.
There's always
Sorry, forget it.
Just try again.
No, I was actually trying to look for some of the episodes where um, a baller got into an awakening live, or probably even in after show.
Oh, I see. When have we woken up a baller? When have we converted a fundy? When have we changed the mind of a zealot? Never.
Wait,
No,
we
but
may have. I'm not sure if it was
if
here
I
or 247, but that guy named Global Sexual, he's a recent convert. And
Yeah.
he came on originally on the show and you were like yelling at him for being a baller.
Really? Oh, I didn't pick up on that. I just thought he was a guy in Discord listening along that had now, made his way to the right side of reality. But I didn't realise he'd come in and debated me. I had no idea.
Yeah. But I'm not sure if it was probably a combination of this show and Discord 247.
Whoa. Well, Discord 24/7's all well and good, but let me just take all of the credit. How many?
Yeah.
Big shout out to 24/7 Discord.
And I was going to correct you on the fundamentalist or ballers being fundamentalist, because I look up the word and it says a person who believes in strict literal interpretation of scripture and the religion. And the ballers don't do that. They're deviating from their scriptures. Correct?
It's
no,
an interesting way of looking at it. I see how you've spun
global
it there.
religion.
Yeah, no. The religion part was perfectly stacks up, and I was going to say, no, that stacks up until he said they don't ever deviate from the doctrine, which would be to say, if it's a man on a hill giving a speech at a particular time, that's what the book says, therefore that's what happened, and no deviation will ever be seen. Whereas, obviously, if we've got them arguing for the sake of argument, the lack of Coriolis effect, Earth and atmosphere travelling as one in a presupposed spinning Earth, then that's a deviation from the rhetoric. So maybe you're right. I'll have to look into that again. Maybe I'll find a different definition.
Yeah, but clearly they don't understand their own
no
religion.
more fundies.
Yeah, the fundies would be Neil deGrasse Tyson and Brian Cox. They're fundies by the definition given by Righteous a moment ago. He's right, I'm wrong in using the word with the people that we're dealing with at ground level. The trench talk, they're not necessarily fundies. It'd be the Neil deGrasse Tysons and the Brian Coxes, and they would be the fundies.
Yeah, but what if they don't understand the religion and they're still zealots? I mean, doesn't mean because they're not
Dunning-Kruger zealotry.
playing by the book, but maybe they don't understand what they're fighting.
Yeah, Dunning-Kruger zealotry.
I was on Discord the other night, and I was on there like maybe 6 minutes, and I don't know how people go on there without literally going crazy and shouting at people, because I was like, even one of the guys was saying, I'm only parroting what Nathan Oakley and QE says. And I said, so what if what they're saying is the truth and I believe what they're saying is right? So is there anything wrong with parroting that? You know? And the answer is no, because I feel in myself it's true. So, do you know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with parroting, you know? Do you know what I mean? Like that?
All they do is generally, contrary to what Righteous Forces just said, generally parrot their own rhetoric. So, you know, Einstein says bending of conceptual medium, and they of course go along with that. My bad. No, they claim it's a force. Yeah, the more I think about it, Righteous, the more you're right.
Well, there's to this.
Wait, but they got a problem. But if you think about it, their rhetoric, it doesn't even make sense by itself. So actually, there are still fundamentals, because by definition, they're going by one way to the other. Because even their own rhetoric doesn't make sense.
There's evidence-based and non-evidence-based fundies.
Because the only reason they're not fundies is because we're destroying their rhetoric and they have to adapt in the trenches. I'll pop yourself on mute, but in fact, till my stomach is as flat as the earth. Doing a lot of
sorry.
That's okay.
I'm still trying to get the hang of all this.
That's all right. I'm pretty sure I heard you. Were you on actually talking on 24/7 Discord, Burn Fat? Because I'm pretty sure I heard you talking to somebody about that very subject. Was that what you were discussing, or were you listening to someone else saying it? I could have swore that was you.
No, because I was only on there the other day, like for the first time, and I was sort of, they were just talking away. I was listening, and I'm going, you know, and I really just thought I'm going to start talking in a minute, and started talking to him, because he started saying about, like, why do we only pipe up with what you two have to say? And like, we shouldn't do that. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, that's what you've been doing since Eratosthenes. Like, do you know?
Yeah, they pride themselves on 2,000 years of parroting.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. And I'm like, are you, well, that's swearing. Like, I was getting myself infuriated. I was like, how do people go on here? You know? So, so I don't really, you know, other than this, I don't really go on there. It's too I don't know how you do it, to be fair.
It's harder than people think when you're dealing with fundy zealots. Fundy with an asterisk.
Yeah, it usually gets my blood pumping.
Occasionally I'll get
I think they
comments.
say that.
Go on, sorry.
I was just going to say that I think that they say that we're parroting because they can't say that we're wrong. Whereas when they're parroting, we can demonstrate where their rhetoric is wrong. So it's just projection, I guess.
Yeah, lots of what we get at the moment is projection. Their own ineptitude to debunk this Black Swan gets projected back onto us. So recently, Conspiracy Cats and Planner Walk made a video about me reading out my comments, and all Cats did was paraphrase what I'd said and insert his projections. For instance, saying, whilst paraphrasing a quote that he's supposed to just be reading, making out like I don't understand the second law of thermodynamics. So it's like, well, you would hope that, because I'm constantly quoting you and your expression of how the sky can't be a vacuum, because if the sky was a vacuum, the gas would fill the space. But they want to project out their cognitive dissonance and pain onto us. I get it so much at the moment. It was really interesting listening to, I trimmed out a toe tag for Planet Walk from about 6 months ago, and
Yeah,
it's
I saw
interesting
that.
listening
That was
to. Go on, sorry.
No, I just said it was great. I just saw that.
Somebody recommended it. One of my commenters recommended that and said this was one of the funniest episodes ever. So I went quickly, had a look to see if I'd already trimmed it out as a toe tag, and I hadn't. So I went and had a listen to it, and I ended up staying up till 2 or 3 in the morning because I listened to it all the way through. I'm like, this is definitely a good show. I'm going to trim this out and publish it right now, because I literally ended up sitting and listening to it, my own show. I say this in the comments. This is on the second channel. People in the second channel know I'm always in the comments in the chat, chatting away with people there because I like my own show. But in that instance, it's like, this is a 6-month-old show. It's definitely dead and buried. It's not getting any views anymore. But I still sat there and enjoyed it for a good solid hour, from the timestamp that my comment. I'm really sorry, I can't remember who that was. I'd shout you out if I could remember. Yeah, things are taking far too long at the moment. Go on,
Closing
sorry.
out was great too. Your closing out was great too. I thought it was pretty funny, just contagious laughter.
Well, I'm looking at the timer and I know when to end the live show, and I'm waiting for the opportune moment. So when there's a brief pause, I like that. That's my moment to round out. But I still hadn't got my breath back. I'd put myself on mute and was just pissing myself with laughter. And then when there's an opportune moment, I'm like, yeah, I've got it. I'm a professional. I've got this under control. And then as soon as I'm on camera, I'm crying, like literally, because I can't hold the laughter in. But it was
literally laughing out loud in my kitchen. It was fun.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. I really felt like in that toe tag, he was trying to be honest, unlike many others.
Maybe. But he still cried foul. It's like, well, you haven't got them. Let me get to the end of my example. It's like, when you beg the question 2 or 3 times, do you think that it's like that completely falls on deaf ears? Everything we said fell on deaf ears. We were explaining to him his logical fallacies. He just wasn't listening. And then we go on to explain how location can't be classified as an independent variable. And I get him to move 4 inches and ask him if it causes an earthquake. Does location cause earthquakes? And he said, yeah. You're like, you think you've led somebody for 20 solid minutes explaining how stupid that the assertion they've made is, and told them that and said, look, do you realise how stupid what you're saying is? And he's even said, look, you're making what I've said sound stupid, and all we're doing is repeating the words verbatim that he said. So you think at that point someone would recognise the stupidity of the assertion they've made in their claim to be formulation of a hypothesis. But instead it's just like, yeah. At that point you're like, because it's quite tense, you're trying to explain it to him, but it broke the tension beautifully. Because I was just wanted expecting him to say, yeah. You're expecting him to go, okay, no, obviously that's really stupid. And instead he goes, yeah, that's fine as an independent variable. I can move location and cause an earthquake. Took me an eternity to make that video. Should have taken 10 minutes. Crashing and getting distortion on the audio track, and all I did literally was, I don't think I even introduced it. I put an intro and outro on it, and I just seem to end up rendering videos multiple times every single time I make one now, and it takes an eternity. Sure, they engineer in like failure time to Apple products. Like this iPad I've had several years and I use it all day every day, but you just don't notice them slowly cobbling the thing until it gets so bad you're like, God, this is awful. It's really becoming unusable. But when you first get the thing, it's super lightning quick and everything operates and you think nothing's changed. I'm not using any different software, everything's exactly the same, but now it just operates like a pile of crap. That and I broke it. You're all fascinated, I can tell.
No, I'm just relating it to getting older.
What was that?
Entropy.
It's entropy. It's just
forced
like
entropy.
me getting older. I feel slower and more tired, easier.
electronics. It should just do what it does. Every other piece of electronics I've got, so on my preamp, my whatever, Blu-ray player, my monitor, the projector, the amplifiers. Well, the projector's a slight exception because it has a half-life on the bulb. But if you ignore that, everything operates the way it operated the day I bought it. I can't think of any exceptions. They all operate just the way they did when I got it. Now, obviously, if you're talking about a car, it's going to need maintenance. But ultimately, if you maintain it well, it should pretty much operate the same way it did when you first got it. Not with an Apple product. They just slowly get worse and worse. And I'm mentioning all this because I'm going to do a GoFundMe, or I've set it up now. I'm just going to actually promote it and do an Atheathon or whatever I call it. But Anthony's opinion was like, why do you need a new one? Just get an Android device. And they're garbage. I used to work as a pawnbroker, and it got to a point where we would not accept, we wouldn't pawn Android tablets because they're just garbage and they just break, crash, and don't work properly. So your alternative, if you want to use that kind of device, is an iPad. And they're wonderful for 3 or 4 years, like I say, until they cobble them, or you break them. So I smashed the screen on it and took it back, got a new screen fitted, hundreds of pounds. Thank you very much to my Patreons. I couldn't have done it without them. But ever since that, it's just never been quite the same. You know, half the screen doesn't quite work intermittently, and the screen itself's coming away from the chassis. I took it back to get the guy to redo it, and he's like, it's like a tiny thin bead of glue. So it's done it again. It's popped out, and the digitizer started to mess up again. It's like, this thing's just going to die eventually. Not to mention the endless amount of hours I spend re-rendering things for no apparent reason.
Yeah. You just described my right shoulder to the T.
iPhone based.
Morning, guys.
Hey, chocolate.
So, hey, chocolate.
Hello, everybody.
Can you not hear us, chocolate?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, cool.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's all good. Starting in a couple of minutes.
Probably sound a little shittier. I'm on a Bluetooth today. So.
Nathan, you were supposed to.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounded a little bit muffled, and I said morning, but I was on local mute, so sorry.
It's all good.
Flatsoid?
Yeah.
I thought I cut you off.
What's finished?
So what's wrong with your mic, chocolate?
Nothing. I'm charging my phone, so I'm using my Bluetooth while I do that. I usually use the headset with the wires because Bluetooth never sounds as good. This is always garbage. So, but for now, I won't be talking much though. I'm busy.
They're there just at the wrong moment. You're all going to be a bit more enthusiastic on the live show. Yeah, of course we will. Thanks, guys.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now we are joined by Righteous Force, 10th Man, Chocolate Saiyan, and Flatzoid in G+, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hello, hello.
Goedemiddag.
Excellent.
Good morning.
High levels of enthusiasm, just what you want. Any evidence of a physical Earth curve edge?
No tangents, no edges.
No tangents? Nope. I like it. Any signs at all of any Earth curvature?
Not from Harbor Boulevard.
Not from South Africa. Well, the new challenge I get from Globus is spheres don't have edges. So then I ask them, what surface do you stand on? Still, spheres don't have edges.
Yeah, right on. The outside edge is depicted in their orthographic Muppet vision. Definitely has an edge, an Earth curve physical horizon, claimed to obstruct boats, claimed to obscure islands in the distance, claimed to bend into a sphere at altitude. They definitely have an edge. Or they had, until the Black Swan debunked it.
What does the X on their image trying to say? Why did they put an X there, Nathan?
What, the one with the word horizon next to it?
That's the one.
Yeah, that's their physical geometric sphere edge.
Thought they didn't have one.
No, they don't. They're all telling us how they don't. They don't realise that's their concession that ends their religion.
Tell us about fictitious geography. That's the new type of geography. That fictitious type.
That's right.
Any evidence of axial rotation?
Not of the Earth-based variety.
First need a sphere to have axle.
Axis. Said axle. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Which one?
I don't care which one. As long as you've got scientific evidence for it, I'll accept it.
Okay, then none.
Anything
That's such a
anybody's
yes
claiming to
question.
be gravity, I'd like some scientific evidence of it. No? Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Nope.
Not from Dr.
Hello.
Faulkner.
Hey, Arwin.
It's your 1111th birthday.
Yeah, 1111, right.
Shumi and Jim Panda also noticed the 1111.
Now don't put on the one ring and disappear on us.
Hey, Adam.
Afternoon, guys.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Not in my shed. Can't find any.
It's over there.
What is the sun?
Yeah, I've had that a few days now. Over there. Wonderful, so specific.
Yeah. But that's all you got,
Are you
really.
blind?
It's over there.
blind?
That's
I can
really all
see
we
it.
got.
Okie dokie. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Hmm.
Don't all go at once. It's always a popular question, this one.
Well, your presupposed part kind of destroys the whole thing.
Fair enough. Any evidence of the presupposition itself? The R value, Earth radius.
Apparently, there's plenty. I mean, they tell you about concepts and thought experiments and fictitious geography, and basically they just put it out there. Like, yeah, this is all fake, but you can think of it as real if you want.
Yeah.
It's great.
Shout out to James Mayers, who says, Dr. Becky still refuses to answer any of our questions. Thank you very much for your support, James Mayers. Last but by no means least, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
Oh, my go.
Good?
No.
No.
How would you even test that?
I think it's stands PSI for a reason.
How can you even test that? Bar just assuming that it isn't there. Because I don't know any way to test it. How can you be not in a container?
Well, you would first need a container. That's the thing. You would first need a container to try test it.
Yeah, but so you can't really technically test it because we have to be in a container because we have gas pressure. So how could we test not something being in a container? How do you do that? I don't know how.
It's not your problem.
Indeed.
Not your problem. You're not asserting the sky is a vacuum and we're in a container system in defiance of the second law of thermodynamics. You're not claiming that, Arwin, so it's really not your issue how to demonstrate it. You can't. It's a violation of natural law. You'll never demonstrate it.
Right.
That concludes the housekeeping. As always, I've been beavering away, plugging in the search terms for Black Swan, seeing what people come up with. The most recent claim to be debunking was a demonstration done by a dude called Mr. Sensible. He takes a ball, puts a thumbtack on it, and then puts a magnifying glass in front and shows that the horizon can go further behind. However, he starts his example with the horizon behind a thumbtack that's supposed to be analogous. Your mic's open, Arwin. Supposed to be, or maybe it's Adam. Anyway, it's supposed to be analogous to the Black Swan example, and the whole point of the Black Swan example is the geometric horizon should be, if we're on a sphere, in front of the platforms. So all the White Swan examples of the platforms show the horizon in front of them. But he starts his example with a tack on a ball and the horizon behind the tack, and then shows he can make it go further. It's like, no, you're supposed to be showing a physical sphere-Earth obstruction, analogous to your ball, blocking the bottom of the tack, and then showing that the obstruction of the horizon, with all its physical glory, can be projected up behind the tack it's currently obscuring. But they're too retarded to even understand the argument. So, I did a quick 2-minute debunking video of that. Of course, it took me an eternity.
I've watched that, Nathan. I think the end sequence, Ball Busters, is my favourite one you've done. The two.
Don't comment on the intro and outro.
Quality work, that!
That was awesome, Adam.
I was expecting, what a wonderful debunking. Yeah, the guy's a complete clown. Doesn't he appreciate that the geometry should be obscuring his tack? Instead of that, I really love the outro that I made. I being Adam.
Well, to be fair, it needed your explanation on that, because I was thinking, as he's doing it, I'm thinking, well, what's he trying to prove? Without your little bit of, I mean, it's pretty bad, that one, isn't it? That it's the concern, genuinely, this concern there that people think they've got a rebuttal when they've bothered to make that video and put it out. It does really concern you that they've got no grasp of this whatsoever still, have they?
It shows he's a complete idiot. I mean, how stupid have you got to be?
Oh god. Ignorance must be very bliss up to a certain degree.
Just total ignorance of the argument, how to debunk it, what needs to be shown in order to debunk it. What you've got to do is demonstrate a geometric impossibility. Oh, that sounds easy. Yeah, have at it. Yeah, you've really done that when you start with the geometric obstruction behind the thing that's supposed to be obscured in the example. Yeah, wonderful. What a moron. What we're dealing with, clowns, basically, that don't get it. And just go out there, hell for leather, thinking they've got a debunk. I mean, that dude's made several videos. The other ones were just the same as Planner Walk's initial video, claiming it's already been debunked, and then a fraction. So, you know, other than leaving a comment for him saying, no, you need geometry. There you go, they persist.
That was a good giggle last night. The Planner toe tag.
I was up till... Oh, which one are you talking about? I released a toe tag at about 3 in the morning.
Well, the one where you just couldn't hold it together, giving you...
Did you watch that? You didn't watch that last night, did you?
Last night, wasn't it?
Well, it came out like 3 in the morning.
Yeah, I'm bad. I was off today, Nate, so I was planning a lay-in anyway. I was working and pottering in my shed. But...
It shouldn't have taken that long. But there we go. That's me doing a ham-handed segue to my GoFundMe campaign. So I've put a GoFundMe campaign to replace my current iPad, which is on its last legs. So I'm hoping to just get a direct replacement, and I simply can't afford to do it. So I've done precisely what I suggest anybody else does when they require equipment to do their flat earth YouTubing, be it a drone or a P1000 or whatever else I've e-begged for other people on their behalf, or in this instance I'm going to do it for me, so hopefully I'll get support. It's not one of those scenarios where I can just say, yeah, if I don't achieve my my goal, I'll just chip in the rest, because I haven't got anything to chip in, so I'm hoping I get support. If I don't, I won't be getting the item that I'm e-begging for, so my new iPad. Support me today. I'll stick a link in the chat box. Hopefully I'll get some support. We'll see.
Come on, guys, help him. Give money.
Yes, cash is wonderful. But yeah, it's one of those. If I don't achieve my ends, it's not something. It'll just, everyone will get their money back if I don't end up breaching my target, because I can't top it up. But there we go. I still need to actually do what I do during the day. And I spend 90% of my time on the iPad. It's slightly heartbreaking that they don't last forever. But there we go.
You've not pimped that GoFundMe enough. I can't even see it.
Oh right, I just spammed a link. Should have put it in a few more times.
Oh,
I'm going to do a proper. I'll do an Atheathon. So in the past, when other people have come to me and said, I want this item, I can't afford it, and I've suggested they do a GoFundMe, I've said what you need to do is do like a marathon on your own channel where you show what you do and explain to the audience why you want them to support you and what it is that you will do with the thing that you're asking for support with, and why you need support with it, and you just go through that all night like a telethon. Explain your cause and why you're e-begging. I even called the title of the campaign "E-begging for an iPad," because that's precisely what it is. I'm not ashamed of the fact that I haven't got the funds to actually buy a new piece of equipment that I use daily to run the show. That's just one of those. I'm not ashamed of that fact, but I will actually ask people for help because I think they'll help me. Unlike Anthony, who's like, you should buy a cheap one.
Well,
Jesus
technically,
Christ.
I e-bag all the time, so...
They're gonna win?
Technically, I e-bag all the time. But I rather just see it as a street performance service exchange, rather. It's like, that's how I try to approach it.
Oh
And
yeah,
it
I've got no
works.
issue
I get a lot of support,
e-begging.
and I'm very happy with it, and I really enjoy and accept the help from the people.
Yeah, right. I've got no problem with it. If you're doing something and people want to support you, they will. So back when I was a teenager, I'd literally go out and do street performing. And when I was doing street performing, you're literally there with a hat asking people to chuck money in. But there's no obligation. People can watch what you're doing and then just walk on by, and you're not going to give them grief. And the same thing applies here. If people don't want to support me, I didn't say that to Anthony, although I felt like saying it. It's like, look, if people don't want to support me in this, they won't. And there's no obligation to do so. If I don't achieve my ends, I won't achieve my ends. That's it. It's just that simple. So I'm not too concerned in that regards for the fact that it's an e-begging exercise. It's like, yeah, I'm a total whore. Anyone who's subscribed to the channel for long enough knows that's the case. This is what I do for a living, so that is what I do for a living. There's no shame in that as far as I'm concerned. People like to shame you for it. It's even more frustrating when it's on your own side. So they'll say, you should be doing this for free. It's like, should I? What do you do for a living? Should you be doing that for free? Presumably not.
Trolling all day in chat.
Yeah, trolling. They
all
do that
day
for free.
long. That's what they do for a living.
I don't think they realize what a full-time job this is.
Oh, it's more than. Well, if people appreciate what YouTubing really involved to have any degree of success, not that I'm saying I'm particularly successful, but I'm doing all right. It requires 100% dedication of your life, and chunking out quite a lot of other things to do it. So that's why you get people with burnout. You see people on YouTube all the time burning out. And you're like, well, if they're doing edited videos especially, like they'll put out a video or two a week. And to you, the consumer of those videos, if they're only 10-minute edited videos, say it's on cars or something, you think, oh, no big deal. But they're undoubtedly dedicating basically their entire life to that. And like I say, loads of YouTubers burn out. If you don't pace yourself, you just burn out. Because you can, like I say, you can do it morning, noon and night, every waking moment. Even though that doesn't necessarily mean that you're producing, uploading material 24/7. Obviously, that would be impossible. But yeah, you do have to dedicate your life to it, basically, in order to have even the slightest degree of, or slightest chance of success.
Right, and that's also a big problem, is that a lot of YouTubers, professionals, or, well, more hobbyists that want to be professional, they burn themselves out also because they get too desperate for attention. And then they start to make choices to try to get that attention. And by doing that, they dilute their own personal message that actually made it kind of worth to watch them in the first place. That also happens to a lot of people. They make that mistake. They think, oh no, I want more quicker. So I'm just going to be a clown and do what seems like popular. But as they're doing it, everybody starts to figure out, okay, that's just a doofus, a general person. Like, nobody cares about that. It has nothing unique. So, yeah.
But the other way of looking at it is, if you do what you love, you never really have to work another day in your life. That's in a very fanciful, philosophical way of viewing doing what you love. And I'm not going to lie that I do genuinely love what I do. I've got the best job in the world. I'm producing anything I want to produce at my own schedule. But because it's your own schedule, you go, I could be doing this now, I could be doing that now, and you just find yourself things to do because you like doing them. But as I say, if you do that, despite how much you might love it, you can still easily burn out. And we see it all the time in this. I don't know if it's specific to this flat earth arena, or you see more people burning out because it's an exciting subject. Maybe. I haven't really looked or qualified it across other platforms. But I certainly know from plenty of YouTube experience that plenty of YouTubers go in, give it their all, and then just burn out because they burnt the candle at both ends.
Yeah. And yeah, especially if they also get caught up in the trolling and the anti-flat earth, yeah, that'll definitely burn you up if you stick to that too long. Right? It'll drive anyone nuts. So don't troll bait. Don't give them what they want. Just try to find your own thing, your own show, your own format, and stick with that, and try to sit through the storm and see if it holds weight, if it will bear fruit that people care about. Will the birds come after the storm, or will they not?
Yeah, and there's always plenty of pitfalls and things that you're going to run into that are going to seemingly stop you in your tracks, and fighting through them is kind of part and parcel of being a YouTuber. For me, 12 months ago, or whatever it was, I ended up with every single channel basically shut down. Now, if anybody's new, they have no appreciation of this whatsoever, but back when YouTube rules were slightly different, you could just put in a false copyright strike with basically no proof. And I ended up with, I don't know if it was 20 or 30 copyright strikes across all 4 of my channels, and that effectively shut me down. So I remember back in the day, do you remember Jamie? They're trying to shut me down, remember?
Jamie? Jamie Brown?
Don't worry if it doesn't ring a bell.
Oh, Jamie Brown, bloody hell. Right.
Jamie Brown.
Yeah.
But he got one copyright strike and is like, jumps to conspiratard. They're trying to shut me down, blah, 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 because he couldn't live stream. Well, I wasn't saying they're trying to shut me down. That was just matter of fact what happened. You know, somebody somewhere just decided they were going to shut me down, and they did. So, you know, that's at a position where I'm like, okay, this is my career, this is my living, and I can do nothing. I'm completely powerless, you know, other than, you know, suing the person that has done this, as far as they're reported to me as being that person on YouTube. That's precisely what I had to do. So, you know, you're into court cases, and the whole time you've got no income coming in. Now, the people who are out there going, you should do this for free, it's like, yeah, I should get involved in court cases with people trying to shut my channel down, and I should do the whole thing out of the goodness of my heart until I'm completely bankrupt and homeless. yeah. Absolutely, I should do it for free. But they just don't appreciate how much goes into actually having a channel like the channel that we've got that deals in truth. And I label the videos education because that's precisely as I see it. We're not talking about anything conspiratorial on this channel. At the very least, try and avoid that at all costs when we're discussing the nature of reality. This is a matter-of-fact show as far as I'm concerned. It's an educational show. Often we're talking about scientific subjects and the validity that they hold. The fact that we're going against mainstream rhetoric and religion doesn't mean that we're not dealing in an educational field. We are. That's why I don't like talking about conspiracy subjects, Masons, all that kind of garbage. Don't take that the wrong way if you're a guy who's into Freemasons or a girl that's into Freemasons and that sort of conspiracy. I don't want to alienate people from my audience, but by the same token, I want to be taken seriously in this subject. I'm sure everyone on the panel would agree.
The girls into Freemasons. I don't think Freemasons even have. Well, there are some female lodges, but it's extremely rare.
I mean, into the subject matter. I don't mean into being a Freemason, Arwin. I mean into the subject matter of talking about the conspiracy surrounding Freemasonry. I'm saying if you're
on that, is that why you've not got a strap line, a flat Earth thing on the debates thing, a flat Earth warning, even though it's flat Earth debates, you don't carry
like a moniker,
flat Earth retard label on your YouTube channel?
I do. Do you mean the wiki thing?
Yeah, it's not on.
Yeah, it is on. It is on the vast majority of the videos, as far as I'm aware. Tramp stamp, as Anthony calls
live,
it.
It's only retro, then, is it? Because on the live, it's not.
I don't know. I know I'm subject to the same level of limitations that everyone else in this subject field's limited by. In other words, I don't come up high in the searches, and you know, you've got to go some to find me or have me shared with you. That's why I'm always babbling on about sharing the show in the chat. Shout out to Passueto, says Nathan, thank you for what you do. Keep going. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Really appreciate your support, Passueto. I will, if I can. What were you saying, Adam?
It was just that strap line. It didn't seem to be on there. So even your Black Swan's not got it.
When you say strap, I always see you mean the tramp stamp.
Yeah, you know, explaining what an archaic thing Wikipedia link it, you know, for flat Earth is, but it doesn't seem to be carrying it on your.
I'll just check on my iPad. Give me a second. No, you are correct. It's not there. It typically is, and it's not today. So I don't know. Let's check a different video.
Just a great intro. Looks fantastic. Other than that, there's no.
Have a look at a different.
But the reason I said it was the way you're describing it, and you're very good at ticking their criterion box and describing it. And I wondered whether that was, as you described the show, it might be titled Flat Earth Debate, but it is investigating scientific concepts, isn't it? It's not.
Just, any other day you'd have asked, I'd just said, yeah, it's just got that tramp stamp. We're talking about the wiki tramp stamp, Anthony. Hello, by the way.
I know I joined because you were talking about it. Adam's right, you do appear to have lost your tramp stamp, but so do I. So I don't know whether they've turned it off for some reason or whether it's just a weird day where it's not on, but I don't have a tramp stamp anymore.
In Canada, I don't see those things.
Well, neither did we until it was introduced. So the Americans were all talking about it, and we in Britain didn't have a clue what they were on about. And then one day, obviously, it all got turned on in the UK, and then we saw exactly what they meant.
Yeah, but it's not there now, though. Adam seems to be right. But for me as well, Adam, just check your own. See whether you
can have a look.
Sorry for the typing noise, by the way.
Maybe they're responding to people like Red Pill Philosophy that are publicly moving away from YouTube because of censorship. And I mean, we all make the valid point. Why should it be censored? If it really is a sphere, why censor the questioning for why we can't prove it? It shouldn't be censored. But if people are moving away from it and advertising other platforms that I'd never even heard of, that would be the last thing that YouTube want, right?
I don't think the tramp stamp would be classed as censorship. Propagandization, as opposed to censorship.
No, but it's part of that control mechanism, isn't it? When they said that they were going to control the uprising of things like conspiracy theories, and they specifically said flat Earth. Well, that would be part of the control, not necessarily censorship per se, but it is part of the control mechanism because people like Red's rhetoric don't have a tramp stamp. I want my tramp stamp back.
Oh, okay. I don't.
I can't see it on Iron Realm either.
No.
Censorship.
I agree. It seems to have been removed.
Would be the lack of promotion that we receive now, so they don't recommend our videos. That's censorship.
I know, but it's part of the process. I didn't mean it specifically. Don't be anal over the interpretation of the word censorship. I didn't mean it that way.
Says you, Mr. Law. Every word's really important. Let's dice up the word A.
I know, but what you're doing now is creating a red herring. Let's focus on the tramp stamp bit.
No, you're right. Fair enough. I agree with you there. I'm causing a confusion. I'll reiterate it 4 more times now you've highlighted that. Thanks. Just to piss you off like you did to me.
What stamp are we talking about?
Underneath each video, there's a wiki entry that says words to the effect of flat Earth is an archaic model. And in previous occasions where I've talked about the tramp stamp, I've said in many ways I actually agree with the phraseology of the Wikipedia entry because they use the word model. So when they talk about the flat Earth model being an archaic conceptualization of the world, I nod along and go, yeah, we don't have a model. We're not punting no AE map. We're not conceptualizing it with the disc floating up like the Flat Earth Society depict it. Those models are, in some instances, archaic representations of how people thought the world was. Now, us detailing a single aspect, the flatness, isn't an adherence to an archaic model as described in Wiki. So, like I say, I'd nod along and go, yeah, I suppose you're right. For all those people who've got flat Earth models that get really angry about it, it's like, well, models are a way of conceptualizing things, and asserting that we live on this pizza pie or whatever it is they show you is a reification fallacy, the same as doing it with the globe. So that's what we punt here. So in many ways I agree with it.
I feel like they took something off me that I want back though.
Yeah, but you wanted to be dumb fuck of the year.
No, I just wanted to take it away from them.
Randy's still got it.
It's funny. It's funny because these ballers they like to mention that periodically, and I'm like, listen, guys, if a bunch of morons that can't even define gravity accurately within the specialized topic that we're in call me a dumb fuck, what kind of dumb fucks are these people that are calling me a dumb fuck if they can't tell people accurately that gravity is not a force? I mean, it's like me criticizing Nathan for not being able to fly a plane. Yeah, I can't fly a plane myself.
Yep.
See that knife? Ranty's still got his.
Ranty's still got his tramp stamp.
Oh, I'm showing that on the screen.
Okay. So just for the audience's benefit, I'm circling with my mouse now what I'm talking about. So it's got a picture of the... Oh, God, I can't remember the name of that map now. What's the name of that map?
Square and stationary.
Yeah, he does. That's weird.
Square and stationary, is that what they call it? I thought it had It's got a name though. It's made by a guy and it's under his name. One Mark Sargent likes. Just because it's very beautiful, it's got like angels in it and stuff.
I've got an original print of that, Nathan.
So the one I got on my YouTube channel.
What's it called?
I always refer to it as the square and station. Yeah, if that's right.
I thought it was the concave map. That
No, it's not concave.
does anybody know what the concave model is?
Concave.
Orlando Ferguson map. 18.
Orlando Ferguson. There you go. Yeah, the Orlando Ferguson is a very pretty model. So what? It's not my model. I don't know if the world looks like that. I'm not a cartographer. I've not validated anything of that. It's come from the elites. It's not my model. Pretty though.
It's funny because the ballers would say, "Why doesn't all the water pool at the bottom of the, the recess, the trough?"
Well,
Wouldn't they? That's what they would say.
Sure. I mean, you can immediately start picking flaws in any model, but their
Sure,
reification
but
fallacies
if they accept that the water would pool at the bottom of that model there in the low parts, the troughs, then that's applying the same analogy that we would apply when you say, well, why doesn't the water fall off the ball? It's the same principle, but they would apply it against that model, but not against their own.
I like this. You see on the right hand side the ball flying through space. So even at this stage, these men are flying on the globe at a rate of 65,000 miles per hour around the sun and 1,042 miles per hour around the center of the earth in their minds. Think of that speed. So,
yeah,
find that in such a beautiful thing that even they couldn't leave the sarcasm out of.
Oh, Nathan, I've had a back and forth with on that point that Meekins just brought up. I've had a back and forth with Wolfie on Rude Earth's channel. He's got a back and forth going about, I think it's to do with a drone or accelerometers from a drone or something like that. I'm not quite sure. But planes and Coriolis came up and I asked him, he claimed that he'd proved that the Etvos effect happened. And for those that don't know what the Etvos effect is, it's the claim that a weight will change its weight, its apparent weight, based on your latitude because of the centrifugal spin of the Earth. So as you get towards the equator, your rim velocity is increasing. As you go away from the equator, it gets less. So it changes its apparent weight. And he reckons he's proved it. Now, regardless of whether he's proved it or not, if the Earth is turning, causing the perception of Etvos effect, then it has to turn at all times, everywhere, every time. And as Nathan correctly points out, it affects everything. Bullets, helicopters, missiles, rockets, and planes. And given that Wolfie's a pilot, if he flies one way, he's got to get to his destination quicker than if he flies the other way. Because even with the conservation of momentum, yeah, you can explain it one way and say how you're keeping up with the Earth. But what about when you go in the other way, when you're against the rotation of the Earth? You've got to try and keep up with it because it's relative to you, right? It's moving underneath you. If the Etvos effect is caused by Earth turn, so it has to affect planes. And Wolfie came back to me and he says, "What makes you think that it would be any different if you're traveling over the ground at 600 miles an hour faster than the speed of the rotation, regardless of what direction it's rotating in?" And I was like, "Oh dear." So I had a back and forth with him, quite a lengthy back and forth with him. But at the end of the day, if the Etvos effect is caused by Earth turn, planes have got to be affected by it too, and missiles and helicopters and everything else. And I'm pretty sure that Wolfie knows this, but he still argues conservation of momentum. And it's like, it has to affect planes, Wolfie. It isn't affecting planes in the same way that when you fly for an hour, you're not flying over a curve. You're not nose down over that curve to get over that curve. You're flying level, flat, level, horizontal, not following a gradient. Shocking.
You appreciate that the claim of Etvos effect requires you to beg the question and affirm the consequent. I assume that because you detailed spinning Earth in your affirming the consequent when you formulated it on their behalf.
Sorry, Nathan, ask that again. You broke up.
You appreciate that you've got to beg the question and affirm the consequent when you claim Etvos effect, right?
Yeah, you have to beg the question, yeah. That was my closing line. We know that you didn't prove Etvos effect because you didn't manipulate your presumed cause.
Yeah, it was assumed.
He doesn't like that.
Yeah, the question was begged. They assumed the outcome. Yeah, fine.
I find it funny that they'll fight for the Etvos effect, which is, what did you say? Something being able to, having a different weight in a different latitude. But then when it comes to the actual rotation, they'll say, no, you don't see that because conservation of momentum.
Yeah.
Really?
It's pure doublespeak, isn't it? In the sense that, do you remember that? I don't know if you've heard that poem. It starts off and it says, "One fine day in the middle of the night, two dead men got up to fight. Back to back they faced each other, drew their swords and shot each other." When they talk about the conservation of momentum and your example you just gave, they are literally talking about that poem, but in heliocentric nonsense, because they're directly contradicting themselves by having that. It's silly.
Yep.
Did you see Mitchell from Australia taking on Mr. Unsensible?
I think I did catch a little bit of it, yes.
He was really good. Mr. Sensible brought up gas pressure without a container, and he demonstrated that in a container he had a vacuum, and with electromagnetic forces, I think it was. Can't remember what forces they were, but he said that he had gas pressure being maintained without a container. And the Flat Earth said, yeah, well, we have to have the container to create the vacuum. And Mitchell was like, yeah, that's the point. You can't have that differential because there's pressure on the outside pushing in. So regardless of whether or not they've got the container in the first place, the Flat Earth wanted to just gloss over that bit and pretend that didn't matter. And it's exactly our point. You can't have that vacuum without the container. Regardless of what goes on inside the container, you've got to have the container to have something going on inside it. That's our point.
He said that. You can't, obviously, you can't make the vacuum without the container. He said that?
Yeah. He said, obviously, we've got to use a container to create the vacuum. But once
obviously.
We've got the vacuum, that's what he said.
Except when it comes to Earth, we just go outside and look up and, there's a vacuum.
He's picked up on
one of... You can't...
Picked up on one of Rumpus's tricks. Disclaim the devastating part of the argument that isn't being refuted as an opener. So obviously we need a container. The question on the table is how can you have gas pressure without a container? And his opening gambit is to declare the very failure of his example by saying, well, obviously we need a container. No. The example's supposed to be without that. Moron.
Yeah. He brought up a few points on the Black Swan. What's his name? Mr. Unsensible brought up a basketball with a little pin on it. And he was trying to say, look, we can see behind the curve using a magnifying lens. And he brought it in and he got to the very lip of the uppermost part of the magnifying glass or lens. And obviously because of the shape of the glass, it creates like a curve because it's curving. And he was able to demonstrate he could see behind the curve. But what he didn't demonstrate, which is the whole point of what he was supposed to be demonstrating,
no, he didn't.
The horizon's got to move.
No, he didn't.
What?
No, he didn't. He starts with a thumbtack, with the horizon behind the thumbtack.
Yeah.
Well, the analogy is to demonstrate that the geometric physical sphere Earth obstruction that should be blocking the platforms is being projected up to not only not block the platforms, but be behind the platforms. That is described aptly by me as a geometric impossibility. So his analogy falls completely on its arse because he starts without the pin being obscured. His geometric model implies, by reification, that there's a physical sphere edge horizon in front of the platforms. The reason it's remarkable is because not only is that horizon not obscuring the platforms, it's behind them. So his demonstration needs to show the pin obscured by the physicality of his ball, and then that physical obstruction stopping obscuring the pin and being projected behind it. As I say, a geometric impossibility. That's the whole point the Black Swan debunks, geometric certitude they claim with their geometric model that has a geometric horizon in the example claimed to be in the near foreground obscuring stuff. It isn't, it's behind, and you can't do that in geometry. So starting with the horizon behind is a demonstration of his complete and total stupidity.
It is a good demonstration, I thought, Tony, of geometry, because if you look at actually what he demonstrates, he does very aptly demonstrate how the distance to the horizon is regulated by the observer height. So he starts with his camera low down and his horizon's low, and then as he lifts it up, increasing his observer height, he opens up more of the ball as he looks down onto it, and his horizon does move further back, but it still started behind the place. So the only thing he demonstrates to me in that video is that slightly different numbers, but if you equate it to the Earth, that the observer height is equal to 1.225 times the square. The distance to the horizon is equal to 1.2 times the square root of the observer height. And that's, for me, the only demonstration he does make in that video, by showing that you will increase the distance to the horizon by increasing your camera height and angling it down and looking over a ball. But
well, let me make 2 points there. One to respond to Nathan, which is you rumpused me. I was just about to correct the mistake that he made with your correction, so thank you for rumpusing me. I didn't forget that. But the second point is, for me, Meekin, what he demonstrated really quite well was how Snell's law can be used to bend the light if you put it through a curved lens, because all the light rays going through that curved lens, they curve on the way in and then they change their angle, but then they change their angle again on the way out. But because it's a curve going through the lens, you're going to get that perception that it's looking behind the curve because of the shape of the lens. So for me, it was a perfect example of Snell's law being applied to a convex lens. And obviously there are no lenses in the atmosphere that behave that way on their model. And he has to be high enough to get over it to create that banding effect that he did with his lens. So it was a really good example of what doesn't happen in our atmosphere, because we don't have magnifying glass lenses effects being caused in our atmosphere, because we don't have Snell's law. But it was a really good example of how to misrepresent their model and fool their own audience into thinking it was a credible demonstration of something.
I'm going to play out my example.
And we've got this blue area which is beyond the horizon. It can't be seen.
So let's quickly dispense with this complete clown called Mr. Sensible, who clearly hasn't understood the Black Swan argument and has made a false analogy by this example. So in the video, he claims that this tack is analogous to the oil platforms in the Black Swan imagery, giving us a demarcation point for the distance to horizon. Now he's starting his example with the horizon behind the tack. Now in the imagery, the reason the Black Swan debunks the globe is because the geometric certitude a sphere would offer would place that horizon starting behind in his example in front of the tack. His demonstration should be showing the horizon that's physically obscuring the tack, moving by way of a geometric impossibility to no longer obscure it and appear behind it.
Point I made.
Yeah, it is the point you made. I'm sorry I rumpused you, Anthony. Please forgive me.
It's okay. Sometimes it's good, though, to rumpus me, because the audience gets to perceive, like when George Musa says, we don't have to really work at the really is level. You weren't really is rumpusing me then, but it came across that way. But I understood exactly what you were doing. You were pointing out that not Rumpus, you were pointing out that Mr. Sensible was misrepresenting things, and you were just taking the wind out of my sails in doing so. And now I get the chance to point that out and then say it again. He was misrepresenting his own model, because like Nathan says, the horizon should be massively in front of that tack, and then he's got to bring the horizon behind it with a magnifying glass. So Mr. Sensible, if you haven't already done your video where you demonstrate the changing of the geometric horizon of your basketball, let's see you move the horizon 10 units back behind the tack when it starts off 10 units in front of it. Go.
Can't. That's a geometric impossibility.
Yep.
It's the whole essence of how the Black Swan debunks Earth curve geometry. He's just missed the point because he's a moron, like all of them. And the amount of people on his comment section giving him a thumbs up and telling him how well he's done. It's like, yeah, demonstrate to me admirably just how stupid you all are too. None of you get this argument. You're all morons, just like him.
Yep. BJ.
It sounds like a bunch of people were desperate for somebody to have some sort of a response, huh?
Exactly, Chocolate. Wishful thinking. Oh, this is easy to debunk. Look, this moron, Mr. Sensible's done it. Thumbs up. Well done. Debunked. Barbecue Black Swan. No. A moronic demonstration admirably showing he doesn't understand the argument.
That's the main problem. None of them understand it. And they all claim to me, oh, look, but he's demonstrated that the thing that was on the window ledge in the background, that was loomed up. I'm like, yeah, get the horizon to go behind that thing that's been loomed up, though, eh? That's what you've got to do.
Which would require larger sphere, i.e. a change in the physical geometry, because their argument is based around their physical belief in geometry of spheredom, and they don't have it if they're claiming refraction. But they don't get it. They keep telling us refraction. That's something I don't even bother commenting on those videos now. There's so many of them. All these fundies that tell us it's not important and no big deal in the opening of the videos. Like, why is there so many of them then? And they all do the exact same thing. Demonstrate they don't understand the argument. If they understood the argument, they'd appreciate that their claim, the claim of a sphere Earth, is a geometric physical claim. The claim being we're standing on a physical sphere, with the physical sphere restraints of sphere Earth. As soon as you demonstrate them to be beyond the limitations of that physicality, you can't then move on to something non-physical to explain away the physicality breaking. Moving away from geometry is essentially a concession that your geometry and physicality of a sphere isn't relevant. But they keep doing it, telling us it's refracted. It's like, yeah, that's where you lose. Don't you get it? No, clearly they don't.
Nathan, let me read Rumpus's comment. He says, oh, Jesus. Oh, it's gone, hang on. He says, Rumpus says, oh, Jesus, you didn't understand Mr. Sensible's argument. Ignore the tack. He demonstrates that the purple area beyond the horizon is loomed up and becomes more visible, just like the Black Swan image. Moron.
No, he quite clearly states that the tack is the oil platform. He makes that abundantly clear. So no, Rumpus, you haven't listened or comprehended his error. He thinks the tack is analogous to the oil platforms, and the oil platforms, if they're on a sphere Earth, would be geometrically obscured by your physically required sphere edge horizon. And he starts with the tack fully exposed, which it wouldn't be if it was analogous to your sphere Earth reification. It's supposed to be blocked on a sphere Earth. That's the whole point of the argument, you complete clown. Oh my God.
Anthony, I think we could both be right, you know what we were saying in the video. But when Nathan replayed it there, he's realigning the point of focus at the top of the magnifying glass, which in effect slightly raises the observer height as well. So that's why I think you're seeing the purple bit, your Snell's bit, and from the point of focus where you're looking, it's slightly higher than it was originally.
Well, no, to be fair, the fixed camera height was fixed to the laptop or the camera that was on the stack or whatever it was.
I don't mean that. I mean, when he moves it, he's slightly, you're using the convexness of the lens to reposition the focal point if you're looking, and that becomes slightly higher as you look at the top.
Because of Snell's law.
Yeah, because it's getting that view by being slightly higher than the original point as well, I think. So obviously a bit more, but I think it is a bit of both, isn't it?
Yeah, well it's fun to...
doesn't even apply because there's no change in medium in the atmosphere and light doesn't follow a curved trajectory. But, I mean, if we ignore how light behaves, he still hasn't represented the claim that we asked him to demonstrate or asked people to demonstrate.
Exactly. While it's fun to try and dice up what he's actually shown, it's not analogous to the example of the Black Swan. What he needs to demonstrate is a physical obstruction of a geometric earth curve edge demonstrated in his ball, blocking the tack, being moved behind the tack and no longer obscuring it with its physicality. I'll say it again, this is a geometric impossibility. From day one, QE has said, this image is impossible on a sphere. It is a geometric impossibility to take that which is physically obscuring something and replace it behind the thing it's supposed to be obscuring. You can't do it. I'd say they're never going to get it. I don't want to be too hasty. It's going to take a long time for the fundies to realise this breaks their geometry. Or maybe stick your head in the sand. No big deal, right?
Pardon?
I said, stick your head in the sand. I mean, it's no big deal. We're making a load of fuss over nothing here. Go and have yourselves a cake.
Yeah. Morons.
The tack is a bonus, apparently, according to... Oh, Rumfish, you're brilliant.
I don't know why Rumpus is defending. I'm just lost at how they don't admit that they're misrepresenting the point that we make. We're saying, look, guys, it's all to do with...
It's a bonus. It's no longer there to represent the oil rigs now, because actually that's fallen apart once you analyse the video. So now the tack's just a bonus.
I don't know why Rumpus hasn't called out Mr. Sensible for falsely misrepresenting our model, our claim. Because if we did something wrong, he would be one of the first people to, like, he'd call us morons and say that you haven't understood the point. Well, Mr. Sensible clearly hasn't addressed the point that we're making. I don't know why Rumpus hasn't called him out and made him do a correction video. Is it one rule for your lot compared to a different rule for us? Is that how it works, Rumpus? Or maybe he just doesn't understand it and that's why he's not. That's possible.
Yeah, I think Rumpus would have to actually understand the argument also to be able to be in a position to call him out, let's be honest.
Rumpus is 100% right about 100% of everything he's ever said, apparently. Apart from the theodolites at the beach thing, measuring the dip angle to the apparent horizon, and then from there calculating the Earth's radius. So we must be on the size of the sun then, Rumpus.
Wrong about slightly looming. According to Andrew Thomas Young, it's only applicable in extreme circumstances, so this whole slightly looming non-standard refraction high in a holographic projection of things from behind the lighthouse, yeah, that's all bollocks. Never right, Rumpus. Just have to go to your subject experts before you open your mouth and embarrass yourself like you have done.
I think you're being harsh. It's only the fundamentals he struggles with.
It's only the actual root of everything that he's got a reasonably poor grasp on. Yeah.
I still notice that despite my request, he hasn't put out a correction video because he makes the claim that he's 100% right about 100% of things that he's ever said all the time, and he hasn't done a correction video because he's falsely stated that you can use a theodolite at the horizon, measure the dip angle, and calculate the radius of Earth. You can't, can you, Rumpus? Because you're not measuring the dip angle to the geometric horizon. You're measuring it to an apparent horizon, which is never the geometric horizon, and it will continuously vary. That means that Earth could be any size, from the size of Mars right up to the size of the Sun, because you're not measuring it to the geometric one, are you, Rumpus? Where's your correction video? Because you've lied to people about that, haven't you? Or at least we're wrong, one or the other, but there's still no correction video. Why is that?
Because he's guilty of the Texas sharpshooter fallacy. So he claims it's within an accuracy of whatever. And then when we ask him to do it on the Black Swan, he says the conditions aren't conducive. In other words, he just puts his target around the shot pattern that best matches his reification of his geometric model, and then ignores all evidence. Some people call it cherry picking. Yeah, stick that target round the shots that seem to best match your model. That's the way to do it.
To me, it seems like it's just overt deception.
Well, it's ignoring the black swans, isn't it?
Sleeping Warrior, you can use the dip angle to the apparent horizon in benign refraction conditions. Oh yeah, what kind of benign refraction conditions do we ever get, Rumpus? Is that a new term? Benign refraction conditions. Where did you get that one from? Can I have a citation for that one, please? The result will give you an answer that is correct for the radius within a few percent. So that would be incorrect then, wouldn't it, by a few percent? It wouldn't be correct within a few percent. It would be incorrect by a few percent.
So it still won't give you R then, would it? It wouldn't give you a geometric position.
No. They don't have one. They've all relinquished it. They don't have a physical geometric position, even though their maths has a fundamental requirement for one. It's marked with an X in their model and labelled horizon. It's geometric. Not anymore, though. We've debunked it, the Black Swan.
Out.
Go on.
If we're only 1% out, wouldn't that have like a 40-mile difference on your R value?
Regardless, you take a Black Swan image and it completely destroys the geometry because it represents a geometric impossibility for their sphere. So, as soon as you have a Black Swan image, but according to people like the Rumpus, that's something that they're not going to put the target around when they say things like it's within 1% of accuracy. No, it isn't. If you included all of the data, which you don't, you cherry pick, then it wouldn't be within 1%, would it? It would be vastly different. But they're just rejected out of hand because of whatever poor excuse he's going to offer up. Not conducive, not refractive enough, too refractive. None of it's geometric though, eh? Like your model needs. So this is all moot.
Going back to the, I got a couple of minutes. Go back real quick to the guy with the basketball and the attack. How would that even work? Because aren't we told now that the only reason we would see the geometric horizon is if we didn't have an atmosphere? Right?
Yeah, it's nonsense.
So
He's showing one in the video. This is a geometric horizon. What he's showing, that's a horizon with geometric properties that will physically obscure things if they were behind it, unlike his demonstration where he starts with it in front, missing the point entirely. But that's a physical geometric horizon, and it's claimed that Earth's horizon is like this. Physical edge to block things that are behind. Anything behind this physical edge can't be seen. It's being blocked with its physicality. That's what a geometric horizon is. And as he also demonstrates, it's apparent based on height. Well, yeah, those are all the things asserted about the sphere-Earth horizon. Unfortunately, though, the horizon we experience doesn't behave like that. It doesn't have physical limitations like this ball. So it's not a physical geometric horizon.
Yeah, my other problem is, right, when they say we would only see the geometric horizon if we didn't have an atmosphere. Well, so you're telling me at 1 foot, right, the horizon would go from being behind those oil rigs, like let's say magically I snap my fingers and all of a sudden there's no atmosphere, no gas. All of a sudden the horizon, my horizon would be a mile away. It would just reduce to a mile.
No,
or
the reverse
1.2.
No, the reverse scenario. No, the reverse scenario doesn't make it any less of a geometric impossibility. That could not occur in terms of the physical parameters of their sphere. It's not like their argument of refraction suddenly snaps the geometry into being real if you removed all atmosphere. Their pathetic excuse ignores the fact that the model is asserted based on physicality. That's what you're measuring your tangent line to. But they don't have the same... Hold on, chocolate. They don't have something analogous to this. They don't have a physical edge of a ball obscuring things in the distance anymore. And the way this physical geometric sphere edge horizon in the demonstration behaves is precisely as it's asserted the horizon we have in reality when we look at the distant horizon behaves. The problem is it does not behave the same way as something with physical geometry, like this ball. It does not behave that way because it isn't, as admitted by the fundies, it isn't a physical geometric sphere edge. They're claiming it's a refracted, apparent, non-physical position. And it needs to be physical and geometric. They just don't get it yet. Anyway, with that, I'll say check out my GoFundMe campaign, which I started today. I will do a full kind of... Oh no, I've got a link to someone's video. I'll plug it on, put it in the comment section and in a chat comment underneath the video once it's rendered. But yeah, check out my GoFundMe. I will do a full-on Nathiathon or something to that effect once I've got the time, maybe one evening. But a massive thank you in the meantime to both Discord and G Plus panels for making this live show possible. Stay tuned if you are watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, as there will be an after show to follow. As I say, if you're watching this live, though, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
So, as I fully understand that obviously that can't, that the stuff they're talking about can't happen with a actual geometric physicality of a ball, right? I get that. I'm further shitting on their ridiculous example, which is to say, if they say that because atmosphere, because we have atmosphere, we see, you know, the horizon that far, and if we didn't have this atmosphere, that it would just appear 1.2 miles away, right? In their fantasy Narnia shit. Well, that doesn't make any sense because the atmosphere, I think, would further occlude what we're seeing, right? So if there was no atmosphere, wouldn't we see significantly further?
Yeah, you would.
It wouldn't be
you would.
closer.
Yeah.
You would
That
see
makes
10
sense,
times
Chocolate.
further, or who knows how much further.
Yeah, you wouldn't have any particulate matter blocking your view. So, as much as obviously there's the diffraction limit and things get too small to see, the reason they're washed out in the distance is because you've got particulates between you and it that are compounded as you look further. And if you removed all that, yeah, I'd assume you'd have a much clearer view.
Meekin.
Yeah, that's to me. It sounds like it would be the exact opposite of what they're saying. I just want to point that out. It just sounds weird when they say, "Oh, we don't see the horizon because of atmosphere." Well, if we didn't have this atmosphere, we'd see a lot further.
Hey,
Like,
Quantum Eraser.
I don't know.
Meekin.
Hello.
No, he's not there.
Check. Here's QE.
Morning.
Good morning.
You don't sound as grumpy today, John.
Oh, God, Anthony, I could strangle you. You know that's going to antagonise.
Up yours. Have you had your morning coffee?
I'm going on mute. I'm not getting involved with this.
Grumpy bastard. Hey, Meekin, are you there? Pay attention. Nope, he's not there.
Did you get described as cheeky at school?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
No, it was more like wanker. Oh, you mean by the teachers?
By the teachers, yeah.
Yeah, cheeky chappy, yeah. I actually have a couple of old school reports, one from 1987 and one from 1988. I'll read them to you one day. They've not changed. What they said about me then is exactly the same as what it is now.
Kind of thing I say to my wife now and again. You've actually already gone through them with me.
Have I?
Yeah. It was so riveting too.
Mate, oh, piss off. They're only 2 paragraphs. Maybe it's not for your benefit.
You've got to.
Maybe it's.
It wasn't short attention span, wasn't it? Something like easily distracted and doesn't listen, things like that.
No, it was something like he must appreciate that other people's opinions are just as valuable as his own. No, they're not. And although he contributes well to class, he must give others opportunity to speak or something like that. I have no idea what that means.
It means you rumpus the class.
Yeah.
Hardwired into you, Anthony, to rumpus. Hey, Brian, by the way, I did try and slip in a hello, but Anthony was rumpusing the class.
Hey Nathan, hey everyone, how are things?
Hey.
Do you keep your ear to the ground, Quantum Eraser, with regards to this argument, or is it just people sending you various snippets of things?
Nah, just hanging out, man.
Okay.
What am I supposed to see now?
It's all right. You're the guy in the beard that's got his newspaper and is like, "Why'd you keep asking me questions?" Just having my coffee. Leave me alone.
What's next? Are they going to be looking? What's next? Are they going to be looking through gummy bears through the atmosphere?
That's analogous to butane atmosphere that we have, isn't it?
Yeah. The really scary thing is they don't realize how absolutely retarded they actually are. That's the scary part. They think they're actually debunking it when they don't even know the argument. Scary, dudes. Scary. But thanks.
With this argument more than any other, them not knowing the argument itself, thinking, i.e. Dunning-Kruger, that they know the argument and attempting to debunk what they think is the argument, just gives us another opportunity to highlight what the argument actually is, point out their stupidity, and hopefully reach a few more people in an understanding about what the argument actually represents, how it would be required to debunk it for them if they're on the globe side. You know, it just gives us useful opportunities. That's why I'm keenly searching for these things and responding to the ones that are appropriate, like Mr. Sensible's latest attempt. Have you seen that?
Mr. Insensible.
Yeah. Complete clown. Yeah, they do. They think their intellectual superiority is going to win the day and they're right because they've already comprehended and understood this argument fully, even though they've literally turned their nose up at it and gone, another see too far argument.
Oh boy!
The next thing you know, we're all over them like flies on shit, and they've got like deer in the headlight look. Plan a walk.
Oh yeah! Before I forget, the video today is 57 minutes and 22 seconds. 5/7/22.
Ideal. So with your 2-minute intro, it'll end on basically an hour. Okay, fine. So I'll start this show that people are watching now at 8 o'clock. So it'll be 9:39 UK time when I say this. From the past. Woo!
It's gonna be Waskley, Wiggles whacked, and a little honorable mention to Kosho.
Wiggles seems to be a popular character among the flat earthers. So Wiggles got a mention on my toe tag of Plan a Walk from 6 months ago that I released last night, and there was a couple of people in the comment section like, Wiggles was here. Oh, wonderful. You know, obviously flat earther people that are keen to hear Wiggles have his ass handed to him. So he's obviously made an impression on people.
Let me read my reports, guys. I found them.
And with that, I'll say a huge, massive...
I thought you'd finished it. I thought we were done.
No, I'm just joking.
Is Meekin?
Lord.
Meekin, are you here?
Yeah.
This is my... Listen to these reports and tell me, am I any different now, or are these accurate or not accurate back from in the day?
Before you start, I need to get a picture of... I need to get that little video of like a little puppy, like scratching against its owner's leg, looking for attention, very happy about the bird it's bought in, while you're saying this.
July 1988, top infant. When is top infant? When is that? So, it's your third year of infant school before you go into middle school, and you are 7. You're turning 7 or 8. Okay. So it's like top infants, right? So this is what it says. It says, Anthony is a very capable boy who has produced some good work this year. He is a mature boy who can be a little confident over some of his work, and he must learn to accept advice and guidance. Anthony has a wide general knowledge and often in his enthusiasm to share his ideas can make careless errors. Yeah, like the wrong folk art video. Anthony must realise that if he is to continue to be a popular member of the class, he must accept that other people's ideas are just as valuable as his own. Anthony will enjoy being a junior next year and should do well. Margaret Baxter, headmaster's comments. Anthony obviously has much to offer. If he acts upon the sound advice in this report, he should enjoy his junior years. So that's that, right? And then let's pull this one up for the following year. Now, there we go. It says July 1989, first year juniors, class 6. Anthony is a popular and valued member of the class. He always has a bright smile and an interesting tale to tell. He has a mature and lively sense of humour, confidence, and a good general knowledge. However, Anthony must learn that whilst his input into class activities is greatly valued, he must allow other children a chance to contribute further.
Been done for rumpusing at junior school.
Further, in his enthusiasm, he can miss important information and so make needless errors. Anthony should be aware of confusing speed with excellence. Nevertheless, he has generally produced good work of a high standard in all curriculum areas, and he deserves his very good test scores. Anthony reads fluently with expression and comprehension. When he learns to slow down, I'm sure he will achieve even greater success. And then the headmaster says, being urged to slow down may seem unusual advice, but Anthony must begin to make excellence his target as opposed to speed. He has much to offer, and I feel that Anthony is well on the way to achieving his potential. Well done, Anthony. English 77%, maths 83%. Just like me now, though, innit?
Like I said, you didn't learn from the previous year, then they just reworded it, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. They just copied it. Yeah,
copy and pasted didn't exist back then.
That's funny.
Hey,
yeah,
that's a perfect example. Now, if everyone's listening, that's a perfect example of a shit sandwich. Good, bad, good.
Yeah. Well, I just want to point out for the haters that I got 83% in my maths. Wankers.
So what? When
I wouldn't be friggin' pounding on the floor with that one.
They always use the argument that you just don't understand maths, and it's like maths has got fuck all to do with what's causing it. But they use it as this kind of catch-all, you fucked up thing, and it's like, oh, fuck off.
– 83%. That's grounding material in my home.
Well, my English was, what was the other number? I think it was
77. You never get out of the house.
I can't remember what the other one was. I think it was 77.
That would concern me if I was an employer and I got a CV and they were listing their, year 2 results, and you're like, I wonder if they've put a target around the best grouping for this particular example of their education status.
Yeah.
I'm all right with the white. I mean, to be honest, it's not a bad report. It was a good report. I think slow the fuck down. Let other people have a go. It's just like rumpus, isn't it?
Well, at least you got people ready.
Good morning, Nathan. May I make a comment?
Is that standard practice in England?
It's a good report at the end of the year. Yeah, that's what you get grounded for a month for if you don't get a decent one.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second, guys. Whoever it was in Discord that said, "Can I speak?" Yes, you can. Go ahead.
This is SC Montreal. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, I recognize that voice.
Hey, what's up? I'd like to make a small comment. When you were berating Rumpus, Nathan, it was very, very enjoyable, that's for sure. You may have missed a good gem there, because he said nothing we see is physical. I don't know if you...
No, I did catch that. I've known that for a long time, though.
Oh, it's the first time I heard him say it. So...
Everything. That's what he said.
Yeah, Chris Munn played it out to me probably 3 years ago now, and Anthony, he was there at the time, how much attention he was paying. He had World of Warcraft or something, so probably not a great deal. Nevertheless, in their model, once you go beyond the horizon, everything's at a different distance around the sphere. So, for instance, in the Isle of Man picture, give me a second, I'm going to go and get a picture of it so I can explain this with a visual representation of the model that Chris Monk made while I'm doing it. So let's see if I can find that. Hold on a second. Might struggle. So anyway, while I'm scanning through, everything in their sphere Earth model, here we go, that'll do. I'll let it play through till it gets to it. Everything in their sphere model is going around a bend at a different rate. So what I've got on screen now is their Muppet Vision representation with some 3D-dimensionality to it so that you can quantify what I'm describing here. So this square on the left is the frame of the camera, and what you're seeing as you go further away isn't actually changing in physical size. But the mathematics, because it's Muppet Vision, so this mountain here is the same size as this mountain here, even though if you were actually viewing what this camera frame showed, this would be much smaller than this. So that's the way they remove perspective. But beyond where you've got a geometric horizon, the physical obstruction, everything's moved itself into a different position based on their standard refraction bending light around the atmosphere at an increasing rate. So the rate is squared. So therefore, everything's moving its position relative to the horizon. This is something that Rumpus has also made clear. I'm not going to credit where credit's due, if you want to call it that, for globehead continuity. But he's always maintained the same position, which I've always understood. Nothing is where it's supposed to be. So when I say everything's a slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection, I mean everything. Nothing in their imagery, based on their mathematics of bending absolutely everything, nothing's where it's supposed to be. To put it another way, it's all looming. That's how Rumpus used to phrase it. Now, we weren't specifically describing the physical geometric obstruction, which things are looming up with regards to, which is how he phrased it back in the day, when he lied and said, no, the horizon's also looming with respect to the horizon. A non sequitur, he challenged me to go and clarify by looking at any debate we had in the Isle of Man. But it was around that time that, no, I absolutely understood. Nothing is where it's supposed to be. In other words, if you actually take the target object and draw a line to it, you won't be drawing a straight line to it. It's in a refracted position. Therefore, nothing is an actual physical object in their world. Everything's a mirage. As crazy as that sounds, that is the reality of their world. But that's where you end up with me saying in a very elongated fashion, a slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection. That's why you get that preamble. Now, I rattle that off so many times and so quickly that most people just think it's an amusing, elongated way of saying mirage. But there's meaning to every single word in that little bit of amble, or whatever you phrase it as. That little paragraph of a sentence is relevant to exactly that. Nothing's where it's supposed to be. Everything's a slightly looming, non-standard refraction, 7/6R, holographic projection from beyond the reified Earth curve edge based on a begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator. So yeah, you're right. Nothing's where it's supposed to be.
Hey, hold on a second. This fool pants on the head retard that should be institutionalized. Rumpus, your little game here, you don't think downstream from it too much, do you? Let me ask you a question. Or let me just make a statement from your little looming thing. Everything's looming. Wouldn't it render every single military in the world obsolete? You friggin' bozo. No targets would ever be hit.
That's absolutely correct.
Absolute clown.
That's absolutely correct. And again, because it's done in a videographer style by people like Ben, Taboo Conspiracy, he's got an excellent video where he makes that precise point. He's got a submarine guy looking through a periscope, and he's arguing with the guy next to him about whether or not he can shoot at something because it's before or after the geometric physical obstruction of a horizon. So when he sees a boat at a certain distance, well, that's not where it's supposed to be then. That's definitely a mirage hologram of this whatever. Now, he does it obviously in satire, But the point is absolutely valid. When you're talking in the context and framework that we're talking in now, you can make it overtly plain. Nothing is where it's supposed to be, and that would render all munitions useless. Good point. Thanks, SE Montreal. Is it SE Montreal? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, very good point.
Thank you.
Hey.
I just love the way you were berating him, bro, when he said, yes, it is, no, it isn't. Yes, I was laughing to high hell. Congrats on that.
Welcoming him to Flat Earth was a high point, I won't lie. Though we don't have a geometric horizon, welcome to Flat Earth.
Sayonara Horizon. Shout out to QE.
His channel yesterday.
Their explanation for how looming happens is not possible either, because they keep, like Rumpus, for instance, he has his diagrams. He shows you physically, like with the diagram, that the light is bent down around the curve by the denser air around at the ground level. But then it comes up in our horizontal. God knows how many miles that would be to show us a mountain that's 100 miles away up in the air. How does the light get back up into this less dense medium to show this for it to be in our horizontal if it's already bent down around the curve of the earth? Or bent down in any way, whether it's curved or flat? How does it come back up if the denser medium close to the ground is bending it down? It's a complete contradiction. That's one of the reasons he rage quit from Mantis a couple of weeks ago.
Amazing.
Hey, I hired a psychologist to evaluate 5 of the prominent numpties in the spinning ball-tart space monkey community, and I got one back.
Go on, tell us more.
On George Chuck. You want to hear it?
Oh, you're being serious? Yeah, I definitely want to hear it.
All right, here we go. Client George Chuck, as evidenced by an analysis of 6 hours of video content, presents with a disheveled appearance and flat effect, and presents with symptoms of intermittent memory loss, persistent cognitive dissonance with his espoused beliefs, and behaviors of involuntary body movements, and an undetermined yet significant consumption of alcohol, demonstrating an obsession with alcohol, and a refusal to make concession for incorrect assertions as evidenced as seeing things that are not there, and claiming to be an expert in the field of mathematics without actually being capable of understanding basic geometry that are therefore consistent with a preliminary DSM 5 diagnosis of alcohol-induced psychotic disorder 291.5 with delusions. End of statement.
You never mentioned you were doing this.
It was off the cuff. I ran into a psychologist.
That's awesome. I'm glad he actually did it.
I think that was very kind to underpin the causation of his delusional behaviour on alcohol abuse as opposed to maybe religious brainwashing.
There's a slight pause because I'm in two minds whether to discredit the whole profession.
It's not science, mate.
Hey, just to keep everything fair, right? My request was with 5 knuckle draggers. I also said, make sure you do one on me. So just to keep everything fair.
Just so we're clear, I prefer you didn't do one on me, if that's all good with you.
No, just me, not you. Just me.
No, I
and the
appreciate
five
what you said.
Dragon crayon munchers.
Sure. One already appreciates when one is a wanker. He doesn't need a psychologist telling him. Just so you know.
I'm seriously considering asking for him to evaluate Anthony.
I committed to a lifetime of analysis when I got married.
But does your wife actually have an interest in that field?
You what, mate?
Does your wife have an interest in that field?
Oh, she's just my best critic. You know, I don't think there's one person I'll listen to about my behaviour. It's her. You know what I mean? So if that's the most pertinent time to listen, if you're in the realms of analysis from strangers, it's.
She was forced into that field, Nathan, when she married Adam.
Anyway, I keep it going just to rationalise it a bit. Yeah. Thanks, John.
I appreciate the support.
You're welcome.
Was he ex-military psych unit then or something, John?
No, not ex-military on this one. No.
As you're all here.
Hi guys, I'm back. Sorry.
That's all right. As you're all here, I'm going to be running an Atheathon in the next few days. Would you be willing to join me on a show so there's not endless dead air?
Yeah. When?
I don't know. I only had the idea this morning.
Yeah. Let me know.
I missed the start of the show. What's that for, Nathan?
Got an iPad that's aging and has been repaired a couple of times. Well, more than a couple of times. It's just starting to fail. And 90% of the work I do is actually on that piece of equipment. And I just simply don't have the funds to replace it. It's going to die at some point. So I think it's called the digitizer, the thing that converts your finger movement into whatever the screen's doing, has started to fuck up royally. And along with a whole bunch of other errors that have just, I've kind of, you get a workaround routine going to just extend the time that you spend using the thing. So I've been doing that, and it's just reached a point now I'm like, I need a replacement for this, but I can't afford one. So I've set up a GoFundMe, and I'm going to do what I called a Rantiathon. I don't think I like the sound of Nathiathon, but something similar. A show basically where I beg for 2 or 3 straight hours, basically.
You do what you have to do if you need the equipment. And that is. What can you do?
Well, that's it. I mean, like I say, I do have one that is currently functioning to a certain degree, but it's one of those, if people aren't supportive of the idea of me getting a new piece of equipment to keep my channel running in a slick fashion, then they won't support it. This is what I was going to say this to you, actually, Anthony, after I got your reply, because you were intimating, get a cheap one. And while you're correct, it's not what I want and what I want to use, and how I've been using my equipment up until now is with the iPad that I've got. I just want to replace it with something that's basically identical but new and not broken. So I can just continue working in exactly the way I have, but without a whole load of workarounds for a broken piece of equipment. But I mentioned this on the pre-show, actually, before opening the mic on the Hangout. So I was saying, I've got Patreons, and I've always made it clear to my patrons that I want to use the funds from Patreon to maintain equipment, like fixing hard drives and replacing hard drives and fixing amplifiers and fixing preamplifiers and all that sort of stuff is what I've used those funds for. But it's, I think I get about $400 or $500 out of Patreon.
Nathan, did you get that new toaster, by the way?
Yeah, but I was about
Just
a year ago.
Alan beat a joke.
I spent about a month solid looking for a second-hand toaster, which gives you an idea of the level of sort of my financial situation in terms of buying new stuff. But I should really thank the Patrons more. I mean, if it wasn't for them, the show would have fallen apart from a technical standpoint already. The equipment was breaking around me when Ranty suggested getting a Patreon set up, and I was like, the only thing I need is to keep my equipment that's all broken maintained and working. And over the months I've had Patreon, that's exactly what I've done. I've sent amplifiers off for repair and sent preamps off and bought hard drives. I've just listed this whole bunch of stuff, but my point is, it's like, you know, you can afford to get a repair bill covered, but you can't necessarily afford to buy a whole new piece of equipment with the amount of money I get out of Patreon. Not that I'm in any way decrying what I get from Patreon. I'm eternally grateful that I get that, because it means the show keeps functioning smoothly. You know, as Anthony knows, when my main SSD failed, you know, I was really panicked, but fortunately it just happened to coincide with the time I got paid out by Patreon, and I literally went down to my computer shop, handed him my machine and went, make this work. And he did, you know, and 24 hours later I got it back all functioning, and, you know, with a big bill that I could cover. So, you know, it's one of those, but like I say, it's just getting to the point now. I know I'm gonna stop making ancillary videos, or I'll lose the ability to monitor the live show, or something that I don't want if the iPad actually breaks. I just don't want it, and I'm in a position to e-beg for other people's drones and P1000s. This is a literal piece of equipment I require to do the job that I do on YouTube. So it's like, well, that's what GoFundMe's there for, right? So why not?
How much is a new iPad?
Over $1,000. It's a lot of money.
Really?
Yeah.
Can't you just like get the latest new type of Bitcoin somewhere and get an iPad free? Or is that only like 10 years ago that they did
No
that
idea
everywhere?
what you're talking about. There's no such thing as a free iPad as far as I know, but maybe you can...
Oh, I beg to differ. My dad has gotten a free iPad back in the day. So yeah, there were lots of free iPads being thrown around back then. Probably not so much now, but...
Same with my mom from our bank.
Yeah, it was like that. Like, oh, get a special premium bank account now with this, and you'll get the latest iPad 3.12458 or whatever for free. That was like a thing.
Thanks, Arwin. That's really going to help encourage the viewers of this show to want to help me.
Oh, we're still
I'm
recording.
so grateful for your input. Thank you.
Oh shit, I didn't realize we were still recording. But it was all 10 years ago anyway, so I don't know if that still goes around. I don't.
Yeah. Just
think
keep
they're
telling.
making that effort.
Leave the viewers with the impression I should be getting this thing for free. Thank you, Arwin.
Sorry, it's my Dutch raising. No.
What Nathan needs is one of the bigger iPads. You've seen the bigger ones, Nathan.
Again.
iPad. Have you seen the bigger iPads, iPad Pluses or whatever? They're like a bigger screen. They're like 11.
Well, that's what I
12-inch
use.
screen.
So one of the things it does, although I know the smaller ones now do this, is a split screen. So I can like various different tasks. I can multitask on it basically. On the Pro they call it, but yeah, the one I've got now is that. I did an unboxing video on it, like, you know, pretty much as soon as I got into making videos on Flat Earth. I've got an iPad then. My kid's got that one now, but I said to my wife, this isn't going to be sufficient if I'm going to do YouTube full time. I need a piece of equipment to actually make videos. And I was buying the computer that I used at the time, and even spent several £100 on editing software for the PC, because the PC is really powerful. But I couldn't do it. You know, I tried and even rendered a few videos for Patricia Steer back in the day on the computer, but it took an eternity, and I couldn't do it even with several £100 worth of editing software. And then when you look into it, you find out that actual good editing software is thousands of dollars. You know, cheap editing software is exactly that. And, you know, buying Final Cut Pro or something, you can either pay for a subscription to it, or it costs you thousands of dollars. So it's like, I don't want that. But then you get an iPad, go into it, and it's got iMovie in it, and it's all laid out for idiots. You know, it's really simple to use, and it just vastly increases.
I know, I've been learning.
Say again?
I've been learning iMovie. Is that for idiots?
Well, it is. It's really basic. It's not for idiots. It's a very powerful piece of software, but it's just simple to use, and it means I can churn out videos. And obviously, the nature of the type of videos I'm making, they're supposed to be quick turnaround. You know, they're not supposed to be necessarily going viral. You know, a subject matter that will last an eternity. In many respects, the live shows have about a shelf life of 48 hours, and the videos I make are normally a reaction to something that someone's done that day. You know, like Mr. Sensible video that I put out today. You know, that is just a reaction to something he did last night, and we've talked about on the show. Tomorrow it'll probably be forgotten about, though, right? That's not going to turn into a viral video. But it means that if I haven't got the means to just churn videos at a reasonably rapid rate with a fast workflow, I'm just not going to do it. I don't have the time to. And that's how it's reached that point. Like last night at 3 a.m, when all I'm trying to do is add on an intro and outro to a pre-recorded piece, and I'm spending more time than it took to record the pre-recorded piece in the first place. You're like, this is nonsense. I could have made 2 live shows in the time it took me to edit this 36-minute video and render it. So that's why I'm begging for an iPad, because I love what I do, and I don't want to stop doing it because I'm getting so pissed off with the thing not working properly.
Nathan, don't giggle while you say it. No, but
Say what?
everyone, please do support Nathan, because I do want his show to stay up to date, and he just needs the proper technology to keep it running. So please donate. What is it, through PayPal?
There you
Or
go.
what's
That's
the
much more
option?
like it, Alvin. Thank you very much. Yeah, smash that GoFundMe link.
Oh, GoFundMe. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. I'll do a proper show.
Yes, it's already frustrating enough for Nathan with all the nonsense he has to deal with borders. He should at least have a good iPad. So definitely.
Well, some
definitely
people won't
support
think so. Like I say, I'm really
It's the
intrigued to see how it
ballers
goes.
that should buy it.
Say again, QE?
Yeah.
Sorry. Say again.
It's the ballers who should buy it.
Ballers? Why?
They've caused the stress that probably damaged the
You
thing in
mean
the
to
first place.
forgive
with their
them for
fingers.
their sins, or like that?
There's 2 people talking every time someone tries to say something. Brian or Arwin.
I'm saying, I think what QE is saying is that they caused the stress that damaged it in the first place. So they deserve to buy it. They have to buy a new one. But yeah,
What stress? I don't follow.
No, it's kind of like they have to pay for their sins, as it were.
yeah,
Exactly.
I see.
So you're starting like a new cosmogonical Catholicism system? That it?
I don't know what those words mean.
It means like a religious structure, but not concerning actual belief, but rather cosmogony.
No, I want a new iPad.
They have to pay for their sins to keep the church going, and so
No.
they can keep on debating us. Right?
I'm completely lost. I'm just begging for a new iPad because mine's fucked.
Right.
Be sufficient for anyone, huh?
Anyway, is there any flat earth related stuff? We've probably spent far too much time talking about my begging for an iPad.
Right. So please donate to my PayPal instead.
You were doing so well up
I
until
get
that point,
plenty of
Armin.
donations. I get plenty of donations. I even got some today, just very generous. And I don't know, I guess to a lot of people it isn't that much, but to me it is a lot. It is the difference between really stressed out, skinny Arwin and just really in the flow, good looking, healthy looking Arwin. So I appreciate all the donations.
Keeping Arwin
That's still
beautiful with
skinny.
PayPal donations.
Yeah, I'm never going to be fat though, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's what Anthony said too.
Anthony never does any begging. I think the only thing he's ever had any support with was funding his education paper. That was it. Doesn't have any advertising. He doesn't have Patreon. He doesn't have PayPal. Doesn't do any of that.
Tony is a working man. Okay, don't forget. He has like several bookstores, or was it? Or
Bookstores? Yeah. My God, you don't know Anthony at all.
What?
Runs a pizza parlor.
Did I say something wrong?
He said he's got bookstores.
Doesn't he?
Nah, he runs a pizza delivery shop.
A pizza? What? Really?
Yeah. Isn't it obvious? Why do you think he's always going on about pizza?
What? I am.
Don't you listen to anything Anthony
It
ever
is
says?
obvious.
You're trying to fool me, aren't you?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Bastard.
Oh, shit.
He runs a bus.
Isn't it
In seriousness,
obvious?
let me just tell Arwin what he actually does. He runs a bus company, like a shuttle bus, just like takes people to the airport by the 10 or 15 in groups, things like that. Takes people on days out, all that kind of crap. I mean, all that great stuff that he earns his living with.
Not Michael Jackson.
What? That was talking about rest in peace, Mad Mike Hughes.
Oh, right.
Nate, are we still recording?
Yeah.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Cool. Don't disappear when you stop. Just give me a minute after you've done.
Right, let's just... Well, there's a
That's
few people
John's question.
Jeez, oh man.
When you say to an audience, I know they're not listening right now, but when this plays back, that is the effective death of the show that you've just delivered there. Don't go anywhere when your recording ends. Is essentially saying to the audience, the recording will most likely end soon, and there'll be a private conversation you won't be privy to shortly.
And with that, no.
Well, I'm going to have to if it all goes
take
dead.
that chastisement with the amateurness that I did just display, so apologies, mate.
It's fine, so long as there's not an immediate lull. Because then I've got to my wife's out, so I'm in no rush to end the show right now. Until she gets home, and then I'll have duties to attend to, screaming kids, namely. But you know what I mean. Until then, I'm
4
fairly
more
relaxed
hours.
and don't want to end the show. That's all. But typically, if it was Anthony doing it, he would then reiterate the point 4 more times. That's what he tends to do. Yeah, I'm doing more because I geared myself up for a quiet week when there's been a devastating blow delivered. Holy shnikes. It's going to leave a mark, right? Well, they're licking their wounds, aren't they? They're not going to be around here falling into the same bear pit over and over again. So sort of Saturday, Sunday, I was like, I've got to kind of gear myself up to motivationally to make sure the show doesn't run into any lulls, maybe produce some other material, search out material to react to, because I knew what this week would be like. But on the other hand, the only downside is the rebellion against it is, while it's been shrouded in wishful thinking, i.e. this is no big deal. Right, now here's my debunking of it. Please accept that it's true.
Well, I'm
Arwen
sure
summed
they
it
were
up the
hoping
best.
that we would have to shut the show down after
Post
Mr.
Black
Sensible.
Swan depression. Shout out
Post
to
Black
Arwen.
Swan depression, yeah. We got it right. Licking their wounds.
PBSD.
PBSD,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure they were hoping that we would have to shut the show down. After Mr. Sensible came out with his basketball and his tack. That I guess that should have shut the show down, but
They're suffering from
maybe not.
PBSD, man.
But maybe Mr. Sensible didn't realise that I'm searching these terms twice or 3 times daily, like a salivating wolf. You know what I mean? He doesn't get it. He's walking around like a deer in the forest. Oh, look at this black swan. I'll just debunk it casually to my audience. Thank my Patreons and get on with my day. It's like me, I'm searching Black Swan. Who's got what to say? Who's offering a debunking? What can I rip to shreds today? Rubbing my hands together. Ah, thank you, Mr. Sensible.
Has
Picked
anyone
the wrong
even
time.
heard of this guy?
I was just gonna say I've never heard of him. Picked the bad time to get into this. Started with the wrong argument.
There may be a lot of birds hanging around in the pond, but the black swan definitely dominates since it arrived.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's not tailing off. So, at the beginning of the week, I'm we'll have a quiet week. By the end of the week, sort of this sort of time, people will be fringing off into the sideline subjects to try and dilute it, or that's not happened. Quite the contrary, in fact. People are still making reaction videos to it, and they all run the same format. No big deal. Now, pretend I've debunked this. That's, the same format each time. So I was expecting a slowdown to that, and that hasn't actually occurred. So this is It's more of a problem than maybe we first thought. You know, to an extent, we're saying they don't get it, but at some level, they must appreciate something's not quite right because they're still flapping out about it, right?
Oh, they get it, Nathan. Trust me, they get it, bro.
No, they don't have to cognitively even get it, but they can definitely feel something is wrong. But like, it's not just a
No, the
random
top
thing.
guys get it. Let's get this straight, guys. The top guys get it. They're just floundering around. There's no way they don't get this. Impossible.
Bob the Science Guy doesn't get it.
Mr. Sensible
Definitely
doesn't
not.
get it.
He gets it. He gets it.
No,
He
Mr.
just
Sensible.
they just try to, go down this alley, turn down here, bring up refraction, get rid of the horizon. But trust me, they get it.
Yeah, I'm going to need one of them to repeat the argument back before I take you on your word of that, I'm afraid.
Exactly. Right.
Or maybe they
I don't
can
think they
repeat
do
the
get it
argument,
because
Nathan. Maybe
they
you're
don't
right.
allow themselves to
But
get it.
they get the gist of it. They know that the horizon is just too far away than it should be. That part they get absolutely.
Not Mr. Sensible or Bob the
Well,
Science Guy. I'm
that's
sorry.
why now. That's
I
why
don't
now
think they're-
all of a sudden now they've said that we have never seen the geometric horizon.
Right.
They've never said that before.
Exactly.
I don't think they're willing to concede to that specific argument as long as they still have some flexibility room in their minds concerning this illusory 7/6R looming kind of thing, which of course technically is complete nonsense, but as long as it still kind of works in their minds, in their dream, they'll not concede that it's the end.
Yeah,
Even though they have no logical backing for it.
No.
Meanwhile, they concede every time they open their mouth talking about it's an apparent horizon or a refracted horizon. Yeah, that's cool. That's our point. Thanks. Welcome to Flat Earth.
That's the bit they don't get. So when John laid out the modus tollens and said every distance to horizon measurement must be no more than, it's slipped over people's head. It seems so casual. Every distance to horizon measurement. But then you're into, what's the horizon? Geometric in their model asserted to have sphere physicality to it. And we've only got one horizon. So when you're talking about every distance to horizon measurement, you then got to say, well, what is our horizon? Is it A, as asserted by heliocentric believers, geometric and physical, like in the ball example by Mr. Sensible, physical sphere edge, obscuring things? Or is it what they call redundantly apparent, non-physical? Well, it must be physical, geometric for their model. And when they deny it, they don't appreciate that that's what they're supposed to be fighting for. So I'm sorry, Messi, Montreal, I am disagreeing with you here, but I don't think they get the argument. I really don't.
I hear you, Nathan. I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
I think that a lot of them, I suppose, if you listen to Jose's and some others, they put it forward in a confident type manner that they get the argument, but they're really just usurpers. They don't actually get it. Most of them don't understand it. And the likes of Mr. Sensible is the proof of that, because they're arguing for the wrong things. They're not getting it. And he's going on about how Q is wrong in the modus tollens, all this kind of nonsense. It's just, there's a lot of ballers out there like Mr. Sensible. Like I had heard of him before. He's fairly well known in the ball side of things, but he's somebody who never really. He's one of the ballers who's been around a couple of years, but he's never came into your show, Nathan. That kind of way. He's never came into Flat Earth Debates. He just heard all bad stuff about Flat Earth Debates, and he never went in. That kind of way. So there's a lot of ballers out there like him who would throw it out there as if they are all confident about it and they understand it, but they don't. They don't understand it. They've either just arrogantly thought they understood it, or they're trying to wing it and pretend they do, and not admit that they don't. This kind of thing. That's why
this numpty came out of the gate with counter rotations of the stars in the north versus south. I mean, what are you people? 2015 called. Timmy Clown called. They want their argument back. You people are so stupid. That's what it is. It's stupidity. Bonehead, Mr. Insensible, clown show. Thanks for bashing your own head in with a shovel. Over.
I wonder, John and Brian, whether you're saying they don't get it. I'm not sure if it's so much that they don't get it. I think it's more in any interaction, they can't demonstrate that they get it, because the second they do demonstrate that they get it, they undo themselves. And that seems to be what I'm hearing. They're kind of prepared to make these daft things because
That's what I've said, Adam.
yeah, to believe that they don't get it.
I agree.
That's what
I
I've said
really- Oh,
before.
sorry.
Like that, I know a lot of them don't, but I think a lot of them do, and they understand that when asked to reiterate the argument, the reason they don't is because they do get it, and they understand that having to reiterate that argument will, just in saying it, will have to have them conform to the geometry of their ball. They have to affirm now, yes, if we live on a ball, 33959 miles radius, right? And they have this distance measurement that they have to adhere to. So for them to have to repeat it, it makes it almost null and void for them to even be able to argue it afterwards. That's why now they have to say, oh, the Q is a straw man because we don't believe it. But it's not about belief, it's about the physical limits of your ball, of the geometry of the sphere.
Right. Q being the straw man is their straw man.
Exactly.
I have to
think
agree with
that,
Chocolate on that one.
I think that personally, I think I'm not trying to disagree with everyone, but I don't think they get it, and I think they literally would need, some of them would need a 6-week night school course on it to get it. In the
I
future.
agree. Some of them definitely would.
You know what I mean? It's just not getting like, I mean, you can explain it like they really need to twice a week in night school for 6 weeks, between 7 and 9, or 6 and 8 in the evening, to sit down and learn about what it is, because they're not getting it.
But here's the thing, right? Because it comes with that bias. I'm sorry, Erwin. It comes with that bias these guys already have. Because I've explained the Black Swan to a few people at my work, right, that I know in real life, and they understood it. Less than 5 minutes it took me to explain to them that obviously if you live in a ball with a certain dimension, certain size, there's a certain amount of things you're going to be able to see. And after going through that with them, they understood. They're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, obviously the horizon's not where it should be. So what's going on? Yeah, exactly.
Because here's my opinion on this. I really think the whole process is like a controlled ignorance. Look, when you learn new things, right? When you discover new things in information, what basically happens is that there is a room in your mind, in your consciousness, opening up, and it gets filled in with the new information, as it were. And then you're like, oh, look at that. And well, I don't think that they even allow that process to happen in the first place. I think that they have, like, in the back of their minds, their globe model, and everything beyond that to them is basically playing around to just prove the ball. So even if there were potential moments of natural realization with the information they are presented, it never sticks because they never had the room for honest learning in the first place when they approached the conversation. I think it is controlled ignorance.
I could be onto something there, Aaron. Control ignorance. That's a good analogy.
Thank you.
Or putting your head in the sand would be another way of putting that.
Yeah. Or
That's even better.
There's a certain hatred for the truth.
Hold on.
And
Go on.
somebody in your chat made the comment, for instance, I wonder what horizon we see in front of objects on a flat surface. I thought about it for a second because I was confused that was even a question in the first place. But then I replied, 100% of the time, an apparent horizon. The problem is they think that they're clever. They really they really haven't even considered the fundamentals of reality, of perspective, angular resolution, atmospheric compression. They haven't even taken a moment to consider any of these. They're just argumentum from ignorance. It's pretty absurd.
It's an argument from Radius, actually. So up until now, they've had Tim Osmond did it. I don't know who made the list originally, but he certainly published it republished it at one point. And it's a list of all the things you've just detailed. An extensive list that has things like angular resolution and foreshortening, all the things you've just listed, atmosphere, clarity of the day. And the list is used to compare and contrast to a single assumed cause. And their assumed cause is physical Earth curve obstruction based on physical Earth curve geometry, giving them a physical Earth curve edge to block things in the distance. And they say that is what causes things to be blocked into the distance, Earth curve geometry, R. And here's the list of all what flurfers claim is accountable to R. So they only ever had one cause for things disappearing in the distance. Physical Earth curve obstruction. The sphere edge. The horizon. Now they don't have it, they've got to deny the single cause they asserted for the last 4 or 5 years in debate. So their single claimed cause of boat going over the horizon, bottom of the Sears Tower being blocked, whatever the hell the example is always Earth curve. Meaning, physical geometric horizon blocking something in the distance. The only assumed cause. Non-validated, non-scientific. Well, as soon as you start bringing into play all the list of the things that they've written off, we can all laugh our heads off. Started with, immediately, how ironic, it started with perspective. Well, you've got to take into account perspective, we'd hear from the fundies. Oh, really? So you're going to insert perspective into a mathematical equation that accounts for physicality and sphere-shaped geometry. And it doesn't have it. But suddenly they're using all of our arguments in defence. It was pathetic. That's how badly they were scrambling in the first, week or so. Admittedly, they've all dropped that pretty quickly because they've realised how embarrassing it is to start telling us that perspective's required, when all along they've asserted, no, we don't need perspective. We're talking about geometry, for God's sake. So it's at the point where their single cause has got to line up against all the actual effects of reality that we've detailed for the last 4 or 5 years. Kudos to all the people out there researching the physical and actual nature of the reality we observe with their cameras and their eyeballs, versus the people who've just doggedly asserted physical Earth curve obstruction based on R. Not anymore. Black Swan.
Yeah, I wish I could remember the Glober that told me perspective is some shit that flat earthers made up to explain why things are going behind the curve. I wish I could remember who the hell told me that crap.
That would be all of them.
Shout you out.
Yeah, that would be all of them, Chocolate.
Oh, so shout out to all of you guys. Enjoy.
Yeah, all of you guys who used to claim that flare perspective was ridiculous, items were obscured by physical geometry of a sphere edge obstruction, claimed to be the obstructing horizon that you don't have as physical anymore. Yeah, it's happy times for us. Hence, we're going to have a quiet week. But there we go. Anything to add?
It kind of does suck, right? Tim came with a whole list of things, and what's the only thing that just recently got scratched off the list? Oh, the geometric horizon. Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, Tim was
classic. Keep on saying apparent horizon, jokers. I mean, you don't even realize the things that are coming out of your mouth. Keep repeating apparent horizons. Unbelievable.
Just for context, all horizons by definition are apparent. The geometric physical Earth curve obstruction, also known as a geometric horizon, is also apparent by definition, it's a horizon, by way of altitude. The higher you go, the further you see over a physical geometric sphere edge obstruction, as demonstrated by Mr. Sensible, by just pure coincidence. Nevertheless, apparent is this utilisation of a word that is redundant to give a second horizon, violating the law of non-contradiction. We only have one position where the sky appears to meet the ground. We don't have two. So inserting an extra horizon with this redundant word apparent is ridiculous. And half the fundies who do it don't realise that when they're describing this second apparent, in quotes, horizon, they're actually denying the geometric physicality necessitated by their religion. Like I say, it's another checkmate. We've gone over this plenty of times. Does anybody have anything to add before I round out this this after show?
4 more hours.
I concur with that.
No, there's not going to be 4 more hours. I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you, though, to all of you who did tune in on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, hopefully being my first contributor to my GoFundMe campaign, e-begging for an iPad, and of course smashing the super chat, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making the after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!